Occupied Europe, 1940. The stark, field-gray uniforms of the SS flood the village. You are powerless to stop it, as the children with the finest hair and bluest of eyes are ripped from the arms of their screaming parents. The Nazi regime ran on an ideology of racial supremacy, most infamously, its persecution of several races for slave labor and extermination. But did you know they also ran breeding farms for their ideal super race? Welcome to History on Fleek. Boldly join us as we take an unflinching look at a 10-year Nazi program to bring a frightening vision of Aryan supremacy to reality. What started as an effort to raise a falling German birth rate became a terror for parents across occupied Europe, from SS-run nurseries to secret breeding homes, from abductions to public shaming, not yet apologized for by any country on earth. Prepare to be astounded by a tale of an effort to create a super race that left an entire generation forgotten and ruined. On December 12, 1935, Heinrich Himmler established a secretive project for SS officers of Nazi Germany that would affect generations beyond. Lebensborn, as it was known, was a design of the terrifying racial purity Nazi ideology to develop and grow an Aryan German population. Chillingly, Lebensborn translates into English as Fountain of Life or Wellspring of Life. The program was started in response to the declining German birth rate, and Himmler's vision was to bring the German Nordic population up to 120 million. Founded in the same year that passed the Nuremberg Laws, which would declare racial inferiority of Jews and others and outlaw intermarriage. Lebensborn's goal was to produce the racially valuable. Under Himmler's auspices, the program originally had two specific targets: to get SS officers to start large families, and secondly, to stop any unmarried women of desired Aryan features to carry out abortions. In the hope of creating a new generation of Nazi Aryan leaders, Wehrmacht and SS officers were encouraged to have children with women of the desired Aryan characteristics. The effort to increase the birth rate of Aryan children required almost an entire secret society for its beginning. The Lebensborn Eingetragene Verein offered young women seen as racially pure the chance to give birth to a child with anonymity. Beyond this, the child would be taken in by the SS and registered for adoption and education. The racially pure element cannot be understated. Both father and mother in this instance were required to take and pass a test of their racial parameters. Family lineage was to be checked back through 3 whole generations, and, as you might guess, blue eyes and blonde hair were the preference. This was a stringent test, evidently, as the pass rate for racial purity from applicants was only around 40%. In majority, the mothers of the Lebensborn program were unmarried, around 57% in 1939, rising to 70% a year later. The project would provide care and accommodation to eligible pregnant women of Aryan lineage in a series of homes throughout Germany and occupied Europe. Hard to imagine, but yes, the Lebensborn started life in SS nurseries. Yes, they existed. I repeat, SS nurseries. These initial nurseries, however, were soon transformed into meeting places for those who passed the racial purity test and wished for children with SS officers. An important detail here: while the vision behind the program is grim and unconscionable, this was state-mandated and taken incredibly seriously. Lebensborn did provide mothers-in-waiting with the best possible support, from midwifery to providing a safe and peaceful environment to have children in comfort. Steinhöring, outside of Munich, was the location of the first Lebensborn home in 1936. It was marked with the very characteristics of the Nazi regime: a beautiful, ornate furnished home decorated with loot taken from persecuted Jews sent to the concentration camps. While 10 Lebensborn homes were started in Germany, the Nazis established them all across occupied Europe. 9 were established in Norway, 2 in Austria, and others could be found in Denmark, Luxembourg, France, Holland, and Belgium. Himmler took an eerie personal pride in the Lebensborn program, choosing the decor of the homes as well as the mothers who would attend. It's even been alleged a child born on October 7th, Himmler's birthday, was regarded with special interest by him. 3 years in, and Himmler was staring at the results of his brainchild. It wasn't all he had hoped for. Come 1939, Himmler issued a direct order for all police and SS to sire as many children as they could in response to the mounting wartime casualties. This was highly controversial and left many Germans feeling the morality of accepting mothers out of wedlock was lacking. Himmler would eventually take back the order, but not before he had 2 children out of wedlock himself. This desperation felt by Himmler would somewhat escalate, as what was once a program purely about birthing children became one that would capture them. This began extensively in Eastern Europe's occupied countries post-1939. While many of the children were orphans, many were also stolen right out of their parents' arms. These actions were orchestrated by the SS and were once again selected by the Nazi criteria of blonde hair and blue eyes. As a result, thousands upon thousands of youngsters were stolen and taken to the Lebensborn centers to be Germanized. It's believed by many estimates that the amount of captured children in Poland alone may have reached 100,000. Germanization was a radical form of assimilation that pressured the child to forget and reject not only their birth parents, but the country and beginning they'd been taken from. SS nurses would attempt to brainwash the children that they'd been purposefully abandoned by their parents. Tragically, in the majority, most of these seized children, who never had a chance at life, had their opportunities stolen from them and were to be taken to concentration camps and killed. The Camp Kalisz in Poland is believed to be the most prominent for this. It was a rarity that such children were adopted and taken in by SS families. The desperation didn't diminish. Come 1942, Hitler formed a policy that stated German soldiers could partner with any native woman they took to, and that the resulting children would be cared for. Lebensborn was soon welcoming non-German mothers onto its premises. Even one-night stands and girlfriends of SS officers were then invited to the Lebensborn homes to have their children in its private and secure facilities. Lebensborn was run akin to something underground and secret. The identities of both children and parents were kept in the dark. Ultimately, this only leads to more questions and stigma for those involved. It also made it quite difficult to know exact details and figures retrospectively. Just how many children from the Eastern occupied nations were captured may never be known. A year after the war in 1946, it was stated over 250,000 children had been seized and sent to Germany against their will. Disturbingly, only around 25,000 were ever returned to their families. We do know that many German families refused to return children they had taken in from Lebensborn homes. If a child had been drawn and indoctrinated deep enough into Nazi propaganda, they would not wish to return to their homes believing they were Germans. Children who faced extermination had been deemed simply not good enough for Germanization, and numbered in the tens of thousands. We know that across the 10 years Lebensborn ran for, 10,000 were born in Norway, and 7,500 were born in Germany. The day after Hitler's death was May 1st, 1945. On this day, American soldiers would discover the Lebensborn farm at Steinhering, around 300 children, some only 6 months, some as old as 6 years. Nearly all the mothers and staff of the facility had fled, leaving the children abandoned. Concurrently, Russian and British Allied soldiers found children in the same abandonment at Lebensborn sites around Leipzig and Bremen. Most of these children were to be put up for adoption or sent back to their original families. Yet many of the repatriated, despite being stolen from their places of birth, were too Germanic to fit in once returned. And so the controversial reality of the Lebensborn children unfolded. No longer required for a fallen regime, kept in secrecy with minimal records kept, far too radically assimilated to fit anywhere else. The children born in the program faced years of confusion, rejection, and social isolation following the closure of the homes. Finding acceptance from the societies they came from, tracing their heritage, and living with the stigma of Lebensborn proved an ongoing ordeal. The controversy and debate of the program due to its links with Nazi racial purity policies and the forcible relocation of children has hindered the search for identity of Lebensborn children. Lebensborn survivors have had an entirely varied experience of justice, recognition, and even help. Norway has a profoundly robust treatment of the Lebensborn survivors. The children born in Norway faced bullying, violence of all kinds, and were made objects of public shame by the government. Many were placed in mental institutions. The Norwegian government would go as far as trying to deport the children as far as Brazil and Australia, as well as Germany, but were not permitted to do so. Seeking compensation from the Norwegian government, Lebensborn children would take their case all the way to the European Court of Human Rights in 2008. Their case was dismissed on the grounds it happened too long ago, and they were offered £8,000 from the government in response. No other country has offered compensation for the stigma and poor treatment of the Lebensborn, and even Norway, in the face of giving compensation, has never officially apologized. Much of the documentation kept on the Lebensborn program, while extensive, was destroyed following the end of the war. This left an inevitable void of knowledge about the individuals involved and, hand in hand, the resulting children and their lives ahead. Employment and education were rare for children of the program. Many faced children's homes after their mothers were shipped to concentration camps. Beyond the trauma of reckoning with Nazi heritage, so many of the Lebensborn faced capture, only to be robbed of identity they would never stand a chance to reclaim. Villains by association, not by choice. Villains by birth, not through any action of their own. The Nazi vision of an Aryan super race would never come to fruition. Yet, in arguably their most active quest for this, they had upended the lives of an entire generation of children they professed to hold dear. This is History on Fleek, and we'll see you next time.